Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So last time we really walked through the expansive theory of organizational evolution.
The big picture stuff, the why behind it all.
Exactly. The why, how groups adapt or, sometimes fail to adapt over time.
And today we're shifting gears completely.
We're moving from theory to practice, from the why to the very practical how.
Exactly. We're getting into the core architectural building blocks you need for any kind of revolutionary change.
And our mission for this deep dive is, well, pretty simple, really.
It is. We want to give you a detailed roadmap.
A shortcut, even.
Yeah, a shortcut to understanding the precise structural elements you need to redesign an organization, and, this is the key part, foster genuine unity.
We've synthesized a whole stack of sources on this: organizational architecture, change management, you name it.
And it all boils down to building the whole system, the complete stack.
Right. Vision, mission, values, all the way down to assessment and, crucially, those integrated support systems.
The ones that are so often forgotten. The technical, the HR, and the business tracking systems.
Yeah. And just a quick note up front, this material is part of a much bigger framework.
It is. It's a key step in a longer journey. So we really encourage you to follow along with the complete collection of materials referenced in the sources, including future sessions, to get the full picture.
Okay, so let's get into it. When we say revolutionary change, what are we actually talking about?
Well, we're not talking about just tweaking a process here and there.
No. This is more like ripping up the foundation and starting over.
It absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
And the sources are really clear that this kind of overhaul always begins with, well, massive disruption.
And that disruption has a real psychological cost.
Oh, a huge one. On paper, the change might be logical. But for the people living through it, it's traumatic. Leaders have to be ready for that emotional cost.
How steep are we talking?
The sources compare it to the classic stages of grief.
Wow.
Seriously. You'll see denial, then anger, bargaining, depression, and hopefully acceptance.
And eventually internalization.
Eventually, if you manage it well.
Mm-hmm.
Because any change, even a positive one, is a loss of the familiar.
And if leaders aren't ready for that emotional landscape?
The whole thing will fail.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how great the redesign is, people just won't engage.
So the key isn't brute force, it's managing the environment, the culture.
That's the entire game. You cannot change individuals if the group culture doesn't support the new behaviors.
It's like the system will always win.
Always. The sources put it so starkly. It is far easier to give birth than to resurrect.
That's powerful.
It is. Trying to fix a broken culture is almost always a losing battle. You have to commit to building a new one from the ground up.
Which brings us back to leadership. When everything's in chaos, where do you even begin?
You reground everyone.
Yeah.
You go back to basics.
Like that Vince Lombardi anecdote.
Exactly. The team's struggling, and he just holds up a football and says, "Gentlemen, this is a football."
Back to the most fundamental shared purpose.
That's the first job of leadership in a crisis.
And that leads right into this whole system approach. Because if you don't align all the parts,
The system will fracture. It's inevitable.
the sources use a good analogy, a personal career development plan.
Right. We all do this for ourselves. You define your vision, your mission, your values, what you need to get there.
Your action plans.
Exactly. An organization is just a much more complex version of that same process. It has to answer those same questions.
So let's start at the top of that list. The first foundational block for unity, a shared vision.
The vision. This has to be the soul of the organization. It's got to be inspirational, ultimate.
Something bigger than just yourself.
Way bigger. Not a quarterly sales target, but
Yeah.
something like make the world a better place through our contribution to climate change. Something that endures.
And the data on this should keep every leader awake at night.
It really should. Our sources point to this incredible stat. Employee engagement is at 68% when people find the vision meaningful.
And if they don't?
It plummets to 16%.
16, that's
Yeah.
a 52-point gap.
That is the real tangible cost of a vision that doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating is how the language you use in that vision affects unity.
You mean specific words?
Absolutely. The sources critique visions that use words like back.
As in, take us back to greatness.
Exactly. And the problem is, if your vision is about going back to some previous state, you immediately exclude anyone who wasn't served well by that past.
That is such a powerful insight.
A vision has to be forward-looking and inclusive for everyone. Think about Amazon, Disney, Google. Their visions are about what they will become, not what they were.
So if the vision is divisive, you're already starting on shaky ground. Which brings us to the next piece, the mission and strategy.
Right. From the abstract why to the very concrete what. What is the work we actually do?
This is where unity really gets tested.
Oh, for sure. You see this contrast all the time. The sources bring up President Kennedy's mission to land a man on the moon.
Super clear, unified, time-bound.
It focused an entire nation's resources for almost a decade.
Now contrast that with today.
Right. You look at partisan responses to almost anything. Cost-cutting, infrastructure, a pandemic, and the lack of a shared mission just leads to chaos.
Fragmented, contradictory solutions.
Or no solution at all. Division just grinds progress to a halt.
And the sources suggest that a simple linguistic fix, like adding "for all Americans" to a slogan, can totally shift the focus.
It can. It makes the goal universal instead of partisan. And that connects perfectly to the third block. Solid values and guiding principles.
The rules of engagement.
That's a great way to put it. Values like equality, respect, dignity, these aren't just nice words. They are essential for a society or an organization to function harmoniously.
But they sound simple, and the application is so hard.
It is, because it's all about interpretation. The sources remind us that even the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights were created by a pretty homogenous group.
So our modern debates are about applying those values across a much more diverse society.
Precisely, which is why organizations today have to be so explicit and consistent about their principles.
So unity requires leaders to constantly clarify those boundaries.
Yes, and it requires empathy, respect, and a willingness to compromise on the how, even if you agree on the what. You know, like that J.K. Rowling quote the sources used.
We are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided.
That sums it up perfectly.
Okay, so once that VMV, the vision, mission, values is solid, we have to move from philosophy to plumbing,
I like that.
translating all that into measurable action. Which brings us to aligning strategy, goals, and measurement.
And this is where transparency becomes everything. The sources bring up Jack Stack's The Great Game of Business.
The classic.
It is. And the core idea is that people thrive when they understand the rules, see the scoreboard, and share in the outcome.
So after a big redesign, you have to define the new scoreboard immediately.
Immediately. And the tool for that, cited in our sources, is the balanced scorecard.
Okay, so for you listening, what exactly is the balanced scorecard?
It's basically a framework to translate your abstract strategy into specific measurable goals. It stops you from only looking at the money.
It forces you to track alignment across, 5 key areas?
5 key categories. You have financial performance, of course, but also customer satisfaction, operational performance, innovation and growth, and human resource productivity.
It's like a check on your own strategy.
Exactly. It forces intellectual honesty. You can't say you value innovation if you're not actually measuring your investment in R&D or employee training.
And the sources point to Apple as a real-world success story here.
They do. They use the balanced scorecard to align product development with customer needs and financial goals. It's a huge part of how they stay on top. It turns strategy into a daily report card.
All right, so with the VMV and the scorecard set, we have to figure out what we're actually redesigning. That's the current state assessment and optimal structure.
Right. It's the road trip analogy. You've picked your destination. Now you need to know exactly where you're starting from.
And this requires a diverse team, right? Not just the executives.
Oh, absolutely. Leadership has to put together a cross-sectional design team. You need the people who actually do the work to be in the room.
Because they're the ones who know where the real friction points are.
They know the reality. And that team analyzes the current state and then helps envision the ideal future structure.
And this is where the sources really go after the traditional pyramid structure.
They do. In today's world, that old hierarchy often just creates too many chiefs. It stifles empowerment right where you need it most.
Because it's designed for control, not for speed or value.
Right, and that's why this idea of the inverted pyramid, or what the sources call the beehive model, is so powerful.
Okay, the beehive model. Tell us more about that. It sounds less like a chart and more like an ecosystem.
That's the whole point. In the beehive model, the customer is the queen at the very top.
Okay.
The people closest to the work, the ones creating value, the worker bees, are right below the customer.
Then where is management?
At the bottom, at the base.
Yeah.
And their entire job shifts. They stop directing and start enabling and supporting the workers.
That's a radical shift. But, wait, what about accountability? If management is only supporting, who makes the hard calls?
That's a great question. The model doesn't get rid of accountability. It just pushes it to the point of impact.
So decisions about customer service get made by the customer service reps.
Exactly. Because they have the best information. Management is still accountable for strategy, for resources, and for making sure the support systems are working. It shifts the focus from vertical power to horizontal collaboration.
And that is the perfect segue. This is where it all comes together. Section 5, integrating the support systems.
This is where the rubber hits the road.
You can have the best vision, the clearest strategy, the coolest beehive model, but if the machinery behind the scenes is broken,
It's guaranteed to fail. This is the last and maybe most critical step. You have to align your support systems with your new vision, mission, and values.
and we're talking about 3 specific interconnected pillars here. Let's spend some real time on these.
We should, because this is where most transformations fall apart.
So what's pillar number 1?
First is the work system. This is all about how work gets done. The technology, the operational flow, the process design.
You have to make sure the tech is actually helping the new structure, not fighting it.
Yes. You can't force a collaborative beehive model to work on technology that was built for siloed pyramids.
Okay, that makes sense. Pillar 2.
The human resources system. And this, arguably, is the most common failure point.
Because it covers everything from hiring to firing.
Everything. Hiring, development, performance reviews, rewards, compensation. And if your HR system is misaligned, your culture will fail. Period.
Can you give us a really concrete example of that kind of misalignment?
Absolutely. Let's say your new core value is cross-functional collaboration. You put it on posters, you talk about it in town halls.
Okay.
But your HR system still gives out bonuses based purely on individual output, individual sales targets, individual metrics. What do people get to do? They're going to follow the money. They'll focus on their individual numbers. And collaboration becomes a nice idea that never actually happens.
The system is actively rewarding selfishness, even while the mission statement preaches collaboration.
You just said it perfectly. The systems are the active engines of culture. They dictate behavior way more powerfully than a poster on the wall.
Wow. Okay, and the third pillar.
The business reporting and tracking system. This is your financial check. How you measure progress, how you ensure you're viable.
This has to connect back to the balanced scorecard we talked about?
It has to be the operational version of it so that leaders are tracking outcomes related to innovation and customer happiness, not just financial inputs.
So these 3 work, HR and business reporting, they have to be working in concert.
In perfect harmony. They have to actively drive, enable, and monitor the new way of working, all in support of the people doing the work and serving the customer.
And to design them right, you have to understand what your customers need on the outside and what your employees need on the inside.
That's the whole design principle. If your systems are fighting your new culture, the culture will lose every single time. It has to be coherent.
So to wrap this all up for the listener who's maybe thinking about starting this journey, we've laid out a pretty complete roadmap.
I think so.
From facing the chaos of change to building that VMV foundation, translating it into goals, redesigning the structure, and then the huge one aligning all 3 of those support systems.
It's a comprehensive architectural plan.
Hmm.
And that journey toward unity is really a journey of structural alignment.
It's not just about feelings, it's about the machinery.
Exactly. This framework provides the design to shift the culture by making sure the organizational machinery actually supports and rewards the behaviors you want to see. It turns aspiration into architecture.
So we'd encourage you to really reflect on how these building blocks might apply to challenges you see, in your own world, whether it's a big company or a small team.
Absolutely.
And if you want to go even deeper on this and see how all these pieces fit together, we really do recommend seeking out the complete collection of materials, including the book our sources reference, to get the full context of this journey.
And please join us for session 10 and beyond. We're going to keep exploring the next steps for actually implementing and sustaining this kind of change.
It's an ongoing journey, and the knowledge definitely builds on itself.
It does.
Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We'll talk to you next time.